The Prehistoric Massacre no one remembers. Tens of thousands of years before the rise of the first written languages, organized kingdoms, or towering monuments, human societies lived in small groups, hunting and gathering to survive. These early communities depended on close cooperation and shared labor, with men often hunting large game while women gathered plants and cared for children. For centuries, this division of labor persisted, but hidden deep in prehistory lies a shocking event, an ancient conflict so devastating that it left a permanent mark on the human population. This is the story of a prehistoric massacre that may have killed over 95% of all adult men in certain regions, a forgotten war lost to time but now slowly uncovered by science. In the early 21st century, geneticists studying ancient DNA began noticing a strange and unexplained pattern in human chromosomes. When comparing the diversity of mitochondrial DNA passed down from mothers to that of the Y chromosome passed down from fathers, scientists made a remarkable discovery. Around 7,000 years ago, there was a sudden and massive decline in Y chromosome diversity. In simple terms, the number of men who passed on their genes dropped drastically, while female genetic lines remained relatively stable. This sharp reduction could not be explained by natural disasters or disease alone. The mitochondrial DNA carried by all humans did not show a similar drop. Instead, it pointed to a more targeted event that disproportionately affected men. Scholars began to suspect that a major demographic collapse had occurred, specifically wiping out a vast majority of the male population. The evidence was not limited to one area. It appeared across different continents, including Europe, Asia, and Africa. Further studies suggested that up to 19 out of 20 male lineages disappeared during this time. That means for every 20 men alive in previous generations, only one had male descendants who survived. Such an extreme reduction implied a massive, violent cause, likely war or widespread social upheaval. Archaeological evidence began to support this theory. In several ancient burial sites, especially in Europe and Central Asia, mass graves were uncovered with skeletons that showed signs of violent death. Many of these sites had a disproportionately high number of male corpses, often with fatal injuries caused by blunt objects or primitive weapons. In one site in Germany, dated to around 4,000 years ago, archaeologists found over 20 bodies in a pit, nearly all adult men, with crushed skulls and broken bones. In a similar discovery in Spain, revealed a massacre site with over 30 individuals. Among them, adult males were overrepresented, and several had clear signs of execution. These findings pointed toward organized violence, possibly tribal warfare or territorial conquest that led to selective killing of men. But the mystery deepened. If this was a period of widespread male death, how did the population recover? The answer lies in the pattern of survival. Women and children were often spared, possibly taken as captives or integrated into the victorious group. This would explain why mitochondrial DNA remained diverse while Y chromosome diversity collapsed. The winning men would reproduce with women from defeated tribes, effectively erasing the genetic legacy of the fallen. Anthropologists and historians now propose that during the early Bronze Age and late Neolithic period, as human groups became larger and more organized, conflict became more intense. Groups that once cooperated for survival may have turned against each other in brutal wars over land, resources, and dominance. Male competition intensified, and in a winner-takes-all environment, only the leaders and warriors of successful tribes passed on their genes. The result was not just violence, it was selective violence, shaped by emerging hierarchies and early forms of tribal dominance. In these early conflicts, men from losing groups were eliminated to prevent rebellion and reduce future threats. This practice has been observed in later history, including ancient empires and colonial invasions, but its roots may reach much deeper. The loss of Y chromosome diversity became a genetic scar silently carried through generations. It suggests that the foundations of human society may not only have been built on cooperation but also on conquest. For a long time, the Stone Age was imagined as a peaceful era of simple living, yet these findings challenge that view, revealing a hidden period of brutal transformation. Even today, the genetic effects can be traced in modern populations. In some regions of Central Asia, a large portion of the male population shares a nearly identical Y chromosome. One famous example is the so-called Genghis Khan hypotype, a genetic signature linked to the Mongol emperor and his descendants. Studies estimate that as many as 16 million men alive today carry this lineage, showing how one successful male line can dominate over time. Though Genghis Khan lived only 8 centuries ago, the same pattern of dominance and elimination may have played out thousands of years earlier on a much larger scale. The prehistoric massacre that reduced male lineages to nearly zero in many areas is a reminder of the dark and complex path of human evolution. It reshaped the gene pool and influenced social structures for millennia. The rise of patriarchy, tribal loyalty, and organized warfare may all trace their origins to this forgotten era of violence. Historians emphasize that this is not a myth or legend, it is grounded in genetics and archaeology. While no written records exist from that distant time, the bones buried in the earth and the DNA carried in our blood tell the story. It was not a single battle, but a prolonged period of conflict and replacement that may have lasted generations. The world that emerged afterward was different. Power became more centralized. Successful male lineages dominated politics, inheritance, and identity. The age of tribes slowly gave way to kingdoms, and with that shift came new forms of hierarchy. But beneath those ancient thrones lay a hidden history, a silent war that erased countless lives and changed the course of civilization. For thousands of years, the memory of this ancient war vanished. No songs were sung about it, no monuments built, yet its legacy lives on in the chromosomes of every living human being. What happened in that violent dawn of history may never be fully known, but science continues to reveal pieces of the puzzle. The prehistoric massacre no one remembers is not only a story of death, it's also a story of survival. It shows how fragile the balance of life can be and how a single shift in power can echo for millennia. In the silent shadows of prehistory, humanity was already shaping the world through blood, fire, and conquest.